here tonight doing the book launch, he'd say there's never been a more exciting time to be depressed. I actually interviewed Natasha myself and wrote a blog post. I actually blog in LinkedIn, have about 50,000 followers, and I got a huge reaction to the blog about mental illness in the workplace, and embedded Natasha's video that you can find in YouTube. But there's an amazing piece of wisdom in this video from Natasha that's not in the book. And it was a realisation that she had when she herself was in hospital after her husband had committed suicide. And it was this realisation that people that try to commit suicide often do so because they just want to end the pain. But the realisation that Natasha had was that they're not ending the pain at all. They're transferring that pain onto many other people that love them. So they're having the opposite effect of what they're looking for. So just incredible insights. And with that, I'd just like to introduce to you the author of the book that I encourage you to buy, Natasha David.
Wow. This is a very surreal moment for me. I am used to public speaking. I've done it on a number of occasions for my work. I've done it to introduce people and friends at parties. I've done a few video clips. But nothing compares to standing here in front of faces. Some of you I've known for a long time, some for a short time, some I don't know, so thank you very much for coming. And if I get emotional, it is because it's my story. I might get incredibly nervous, as I am. So I'm actually going to just simply read, and I hope you'll indulge me for that. When I sat down to write a speech for this momentous occasion, I struggled with what I would say. Should I focus on the process of writing my book, or perhaps about my hope that it will reach people like myself, lovers, partners and carers of those who struggle with mental illnesses? Would I talk about my recovery, or the important part that writing my story has played in my journey back to my own mental health? In the end, I decided to be personal and write a letter to my husband about the last 10 years and a half and about my hope for the future. And I'd like to share that letter with you all. But before I do, I just wanted to let you guys know, I refer to my husband as John in the book. His middle name was John, but I'm actually going to write this to Kevin because Kevin was his name. I did call him John out of respect. I had this huge, incredible need to just portray him with respect and dignity, so I did change his name in the book. But I will read this to Kevin. Dear Kevin, 16 years ago today, we would enter the reception hall at our wedding, surrounded by family and friends. Many of those are here today. We laughed at the absurdity that we were all grown up now and starting life as a married couple. Our early experiences as a couple were characterised by immense ups and downs. I put that down to having an exciting partnership and didn't want to look too closely at what was really still under the surface. But what we had that day was the intense love we felt for one another, and that was real. We had a really fun day, even though, as you know, I was ambivalent about marriage. I still cried when I said my vows as I got swept away with the emotion of the day. Who would have thought? You pledged to take me as your life, not your wife. We laughed at that slip up a lot afterwards, little realising how significant that slip of the tongue would end up being. And we started out like every other newlywed, with hope. I still harbour that hope today, but in a different way. While we both knew it didn't end well for you and me, there is a different kind of hope happening in society today. It's a small light, but it's growing day by day. There is a renewed hope that those living with mental illnesses are no longer stigmatised, that the language is changing, albeit slowly. If you were around today, you'd hear people openly discussing mental health. You might read the same articles I read, and the message is the same. This is not your fault. This can be managed, and you can lead a full and happy life. The big message here is this, Kevin. You need to acknowledge the problem. I look back with hindsight that is 2020, as well as compassion that we were both trying our best to cope with what we faced, with the limited emotional toolkit of 20-somethings. I wish we had both been more willing to face things. I wish you had heard me when I said there was something wrong. And it wasn't just our fights about money or children or any of those numerous things that most married couples would fight about. I wished I had been stronger and more articulate in expressing my feelings of panic, walking on eggshells. Most of all, I wished I had just been more straightforward and asked, "Are you thinking about suicide?" Now, as I have come to slowly realise with my heart as well as my head, 10.5 years on, your death wasn't anyone's fault, least of all yours. As a loving friend would tell me over and over again, it was a myriad of things. At that time, there was very little recognition from society and culture that mental illness was something that could be treated and managed, alongside leading the best life that I know you wanted to lead. As we both know, when we asked for help, treatment tended to be patchy. GPs and specialists or care workers all had limited contact with each other, which meant lack of continuity of care. Again, as 20-something-year-olds trying to get by, let alone keeping up with the Joneses, to have a mental illness was expensive. Even worse, to admit it was a professional risk of being shamed, shunned, and shut out of the workforce altogether. I am not saying any of these things are fixed today, but we are seeing a tide turning. We are seeing greater compassion and practical solutions for those who both have mental illnesses and those who are their partners and carers. Every day I see stories that tell stories of what it's like, of how to cope, and where to get help. The internet has made it infinitely easier to bring together information, health providers and support groups. So I stand here today surrounded by the books of this historic bookstore, and I think of all of the information that might have saved you. I think of the despair you felt when you decided you had no other option. To me, the biggest telltale sign that you were tired of fighting was the half-finished book you left unread. I hope in my heart of hearts that I have done you justice in my book, that I have told our story in a way that will bring comfort for those today who are enduring what we did. And I hope it brings a greater understanding to those who do seek to empathise but haven't experienced a mental illness. I hope it means to those who feel alone that they will know they are not the only ones who are going through this as I did for a very long time. If they've lost a partner as I did, I hope that it will help them understand that grief is messy and take the time to breathe, not try to deny it. I'm going to break from the letter and say that was the biggest roadblock to my recovery, was trying to pretend I didn't have to grieve. And most of all, I hope it gives others hope that, like myself, that they too can choose to pursue happiness every day until one day they realise it stopped being something that they chase and just becomes something they already have. A wise woman once told me that time doesn't heal all wounds, but it does bring you acceptance. And it is in this acceptance where we rebuild our lives and start reconnecting with the sweetness of life and hope for the future. You already know that my story has a happy ending. You always wished the best for me, and I honestly say I am living up to your wish. With love from Natasha. So now I'd like to thank a few key people who were instrumental to making this event and this book happen. My family, friend and honoured guests, thank you all so much for coming. Your love and support has been a blessing every day. Without you, this simply would not come to this. I would also like to thank Lucinda Brockton for her generosity in being here tonight and lending her considerable support and profile to support my book launch. Hearing Lucy and her husband speak this week just blew me away. Their dignity and their eloquence with which they speak about their challenges has humbled me and left me with the profound feeling that we are all connected. I would also like to thank Tony, who was my professional mentor and an invaluable supporter at that time of my life. Tony, your wisdom and compassion made all the difference. And for those who are struggling with mental illnesses, I hope that they can encounter the professional understanding that coming back to the workforce gives you something to focus on other than just being in your own head. It is so important for people to have that dignity, and that really helps the healing process. Thank you to Lynn, my beautiful friend. You inspired me to write my story. One of our many kitchen chats where we're talking about the life, the universe and everything and solving all the world's problems. And in that moment you said, why don't you just write it down? And I did, so thank you. Your idea put the kernel, and without that I wouldn't have let my loved ones into my private world, so thank you. Angela, to you my thanks is twofold. Your words throughout our professional relationship in the last 3 years, be brave, be bold, are still ringing in my ears. I say professional, but it is actually a true friendship as well. I've watched you, your bravery and your boldness was an example to me of what could happen when you put yourself out there. There were many times that I would debate publishing altogether, and that debate took place over 3 years. So the first time that I was with Angela in the office and I showed her this book that I'd written and what did she think, and she just said, this is great, we should get it out there, and she knows very well that debate in my head that went over the time. So seriously, it really helped me to come to that bravery myself. Secondly, as Tony alluded to, your tireless efforts in promoting the book meant that I've been able to spread my message much further than I could have imagined. And Tony mentioned the project in the coming days, and also SBS World News has picked up the story as well as the Huffington Post and a few more to come. Ian? Lovely Ian. Thank you for bringing out the best in me and for understanding that telling this story in no way diminishes ours. I value our honesty and our love, and I look forward to many more years together. You helped me be a better person, and again, I believe you are someone I was destined to meet. Thank you. To my family, you mean everything to me. I would like in particular to thank my parents who are here, Leonie and Patrick, my brothers and sister Matthew, Alex and Josephine and Stephen. Their endless support and emotional and practical support literally saved me from my own darkest hour. My sister-in-law and beautiful friend, Julianne, you were my rock and anchor to a life that I both grieved and craved. You have become so much more to me than the labels we used to describe our relationship. And your endless acceptance and wisdom has been a lifeline. Finally, to my beautiful friends, and I'm going to mention those who were there helping me at the time, although I have an amazing array of friends who I'm going to use up all of my time to mention if I tried. So those I'd like to particularly thank: Jeff, Rebecca, Gavin, Mel, Dorinka, Dan and Sandy. They say you're friends of the family you choose, and I chose extremely well. Thank you for your tireless support and unconditional love. In particular, I feel I should also thank your couches, as they were used many a night, almost for a year, in rotation, I would say, and that's no joke. In all seriousness, you guys were the reason I held on and not only survived but thrived once again. Thank you all.